Monday, the 7th of May, 2012. Smart people doing stupid things. Think of how stupid the average person is, and realize half of them are stupider than that. George Carlin. Doing stupid things, unfortunately, isn't remotely restricted to stupid people. Even reasonably intelligent people do stupid things. But all these people doing stupid things is what keeps me in business. A 30-year-old police officer was travelling on his motorcycle at highway speeds today when his front tyre gave out and he fell off, sliding about 30 feet on the pavement before finally coming to a stop. Fortunately, he was wearing his helmet, but his right shoulder and face took the brunt of the fall. He had extensive road rash on his face, shoulder, legs, pretty much everywhere. As I was going through his history, including prior surgeries, he started rattling off the 12 or 13 bones that he had broken in the past, including his ankle and 10 bones in his back. And how did he break them? Why, his last motorcycle accident, of course. Of course. I told him that perhaps, maybe, it was possibly time for him to give up the motorcycle because he didn't seem to be very good at it. "Oh no," said he. "I've been riding since I was 8. Not very well, apparently. As you can imagine, I consider riding a motorcycle a stupid thing. I consider getting back on a motorcycle after a horrific accident a really stupid thing. Thursday, the 10th of May, 2012. Bad things only happen to good people. Some people just have bad luck. They're at the wrong place at the wrong time when they're hit by a bus. But some people create their own bad luck and their own bad situation. And sometimes, just when it seems a patient's story can't get any worse, it does. This past shift was another busy one, with 5 patients coming to me in the first 90 minutes of the day. The first trauma alert came literally as I was walking in the door. Oh great, I said to myself, it's going to be one of those days. Well, it was one of those days for my next patient too. At one point I was told I would be getting 3 patients, all from the same car accident. 2 cars had impacted each other head on, and at least 2 of the patients had obvious fractures. The driver of one car had a broken heel and a broken rib. In the other car, the 23-year-old woman who was driving had minor scrapes and lacerations. Her passenger was a 29-year-old guy who had just gotten out of the hospital after fracturing his right knee in a car accident. As soon as he hit the door of the trauma room, he was screaming in obvious agony. Everything from the waist down hurt, and his right leg was bent very awkwardly. We got x-rays of everything, and he had fractured his left femur, left knee, left tibia and fibula, and his right knee just below his previous fracture, and his right tibia and fibula. Ow. Bad, right? Oh, not so fast. That's not even the bad part. The difficult part was yet to come. It turns out he's a former narcotics abuser and takes multiple medications for it. He told me he had been clean for 3 years. Unfortunately for him, his tolerance to narcotics was at elephant level, so we had to give him mega doses that should have been enough to kill him. Now it's bad, right? What, not bad enough? Yes, it gets worse. His urine drug screen was positive for cocaine. Clean for 3 years? Hardly. That has to be as bad as it gets. No, just wait. It gets even worse. The woman who was driving him was his girlfriend, who was also on medicine for narcotics abuse. He failed to tell us about his wife, however, until she showed up at the hospital. She was obviously worried sick about her beloved spouse. And 9 months pregnant. They say bad things only happen to good people. Trust me, they happen to bad people too. Monday, the 14th of May, 2012. Heartwarming. I'm going to take a quick detour from my usual stories to post something that I hope will make you smile as much as it did for me. I don't come across stories like this very often, so when I do, I feel the need to share. Oh, stop gagging, you big baby, just read. I was consulted on an elderly gentleman in his 80s about 2 months ago due to anemia and rectal bleeding. In a man of his age, this is considered to be colon cancer until proven otherwise. A gastroenterologist performed a colonoscopy and found a mass in his colon, and biopsies confirmed colon cancer a few days later. Mr. X, not his real name, took the news very well. He and his wife, who passed away a few years ago, were Holocaust survivors, and he dealt with the bad news just like he dealt with everything else, with an amazing sense of humour. I've never heard so many cancer jokes in my life. I never knew so many cancer jokes even existed. I removed about half of his colon laparoscopically. with a few very tiny incisions, and he recovered very well, going home about 5 days after surgery. I saw him in my office about 2 weeks later, and everything was going very well, though he had elected not to undertake chemotherapy. He still cracked jokes at every possible opportunity. Hold your horses, the heartwarming part of the story is coming now. I just got an email from his daughter that the local municipality will be naming a school after his late wife after an exhaustive search for a new name. There isn't very much out there, besides my wife and children. That makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. This did. Friday, the 18th of May, 2012. Really? I'm not that garrulous a guy. But it still takes a lot to render me speechless. I typically have an answer for anything a patient may ask or say, but sometimes I still get stupefied by someone, and I solemnly promise to post each and every instance of that here. A few days ago, 2 brothers were involved in a car accident. The younger brother was egging on his older brother, encouraging him to drive faster. Not to be taunted by his little brother, he pushed the car to the limit and then lost control. The car flipped several times, and the driver was ejected because he wasn't wearing the seatbelt. The younger brother, who had put his seatbelt on just prior to the accident, didn't even have a scratch on him. The older brother suffered hemorrhaging in his brain and is currently on life support, barely clinging to life, in the intensive care unit. I was talking to his mother in her son's room in the ICU the next day, lamenting the fact that he had chosen not to wear a seatbelt. "Well, I never wear mine either," his mother almost proudly announced. "You do now," I replied and smiled sadly, thinking she had learned her lesson. "No, I will not," she flatly stated. I simply stared at her with my mouth probably agape. I glanced over at her critically injured son, and then looked back at her, hoping she would make the connection. "I've just heard of too many people getting hurt from those things. I will not wear one." I wanted to reach over, grab her face, and point it at her son, much like you would do to a puppy that pees on the rug. "Just look at him. He might die because he wasn't wearing his. Your other son who had his on literally walked away from this accident," I almost shouted at her. She just looked at me almost defiantly, and I realised this was a battle not worth fighting, at least at that moment. I know she was grieving, but this was ridiculous. Don't you think for 1 second that I'm planning on letting this go, however. I will revisit this issue with her once things settle down, but I have a bad feeling that she's a lost cause. Friday, the 25th of May, 2012. Love hurts. Passion is an extremely powerful emotion. It's also potentially dangerous. I'm not talking about spending twice as much on that Valentine's Day gift as you intended, just to impress that special someone. No, I'm saying it can light a fuse that explodes as rage. Sort of like this next guy who found out the hard way just how much love can hurt. A young man wanted to see his young child, but the child's mother didn't want him to. Sounds simple enough, until rage takes over. Overcome with emotion, he tried to barge his way into her house. Unfortunately, he wasn't fast enough to avoid her new boyfriend's fist, nor was he strong enough not to pass out. He woke up in my trauma bay last night with a nasty concussion and a split lip. As I was repairing his lip laceration, I noticed some ugly linear scars on his right arm. The pattern looked familiar, so I asked him the obvious question. "Did you punch a window?" "Yeah, Doc, I still got some glass stuck in there too." "And why did you do that?" I heard myself asking him before I could stop myself. Why would I ask that? That was the last time she wouldn't let me see my kid. I know, I was stupid. My father taught me to listen to the patient, because 80% of the time they will tell you their diagnosis. This guy had right on the money. Stupid. Thursday, the 31st of May, 2012. Embarrassment. As you may have read, there is a very strict protocol to which we adhere for every trauma patient who hits the door. After assessing the airway and making sure that the patient is breathing and has a heartbeat, we completely disrobe every patient and examine everything, front and back. Things usually go very smoothly, but every now and then something happens that breaks the protocol and sends things into a tailspin. Sometimes I'm the cause of that. A 79-year-old woman was just brought to me having tripped and fallen. She landed on her face, but on arrival she was alert and breathing normally, so we continued the protocol and disrobed her down to her underwear. The nurses turned her to the side so I could assess her back, and after I'd done so, the head nurse asked me if I could unhook her bra while she was still lying on her side. Without thinking, I reached over and deftly unhooked it with one hand in a single smooth motion, not even realizing how it might look. Of course, the nurses noticed immediately. The nurses, ER techs, and even the radiology techs all immediately started hooting and hollering at my ability to undo a bra so easily. They started laughing about what that might mean. If you ever wondered if I'm capable of blushing, the answer is a resounding yes. Tuesday, the 12th of June 2012. A smart one? Intelligence is all relative. I'm pretty damn smart, but compared to Stephen Hawking, I'm a doofus at best. What ought to be common sense to me seems to come very slowly to others. As long as it comes eventually, then not all is lost. My last shift consisted of 15 patients in 24 hours, all of them blunt trauma victims, as opposed to the more glamorous penetrating victims, gunshots, stabbings, impalings, etc. When the weather is nice, the motorcycles come out. And that day was particularly warm and sunny. One of the patients was a 46-year-old motorcyclist who hit a patch of gravel and lost control of his bike. He slid on the ground for 10 to 20 meters until he finally came to a stop in the middle of the road. Lucky that he wasn't run over by a car. Fortunately, nothing was seriously injured except for extensive road rash on his chest, back, arms, and legs. That was the one day, coincidentally, that he wasn't wearing his leather jacket, or so he claimed. I swear, I always wear my seatbelt, I just forgot today. Sure. Unfortunately, he had just finished recovering from back surgery, and this was going to set him back several months. He knew it too. I was giving him instructions on how to care for his road rash, including daily cleansing with soap and water. Why, so when it hurts like hell I can remind myself what a dumbass I am? I just looked at him with a hopeful expression. Yeah, I'm giving up the bike. It was stupid. The whole thing was stupid. Giving up motorcycles is smart, but realizing how dangerous they are before you tear up 10% of your skin is even smarter. Smart is all relative. Wednesday, the 20th of June 2012. Perspective. I'm just as guilty as everyone else of losing perspective. My life seems very difficult sometimes, running around in multiple hospitals trying to take care of people, 2 small active children who drive me crazy, mortgage payments, car payments, malpractice insurance premiums, sick patients. It's enough to make me crazy. Sometimes I get the feeling that I'm juggling chainsaws, and at any time one of them may fall and cut my arm off. And I'd need the services of a trauma surgeon, if only I could find one. But just when it seems like my life is rough, I run into a gentleman at one of my hospitals who happens to be on the janitorial staff. He's probably in his 40s or 50s, quite tall, very perky, and always happy. His job is collecting hazardous trash from various parts of the hospital, depositing it into large carts, and transporting it to larger bins outside. And yet, in the 4 years I've known him, I've never once seen him in a bad mood. He always greets me with a huge smile and a "Hey doc, how are things with you today? I'm doing just great." Think about that. This man's job is carting hospital waste, and he's always happy and always ready to cheer me up. It's people like this man who really give me a new outlook on things. If someone who works with trash can be happy all the time, why can't I? When I'm feeling most frustrated, I think about that, and him, and it makes me smile. Tuesday, the 26th of June 2012. Stupid questions. The only stupid question is the one unasked. Doc B. Okay, I have to admit, I didn't actually say that first, and despite exhaustive research, i.e. a 10-second Google search, I have been woefully unable to figure out who did say it first. However, after thinking about it for a while, I realised that I am damn glad I didn't say it, because it's entirely untrue. There are plenty of stupid questions that actually get asked. I get asked these stupid questions all the time, mostly by patients, but also by their families, nurses, and even other doctors. I get this one all the time. Is my leg broken or fractured? What? I wasn't aware there was a difference. I must have missed that day in Bones 101. If your bone isn't in one piece, it's broken. Full stop. If you're asking if you need surgery to fix it, well, that's a different question. Is this laceration across my face going to leave a scar? No. Some brilliant surgeon invented a way to reroute the entire healing process. Of course it's going to leave a scar. One thing that car accident victims love to ask is, how can I get my wallet, purse, money, gun from my car? They also love asking the details of the accident. Sorry, genius, but I wasn't there. I can't begin to guess how your car ended up in a ditch, and I haven't the foggiest idea who has your cell phone. When is Dr. Consultant going to be here to see me today? I love this one. I work with dozens of doctors at several hospitals, and I can personally guarantee you that I don't know the daily schedule of a single one of them. I guess that idiom needs to be changed. I'll propose this alternative. The only stupid question is the one you ask without using your brain first. Edit. I will confess that I deleted 2 questions from my post that, after reading a few comments, I decided aren't stupid at all. Rather, they just put us in an impossible position to answer. How long will I live, and how long will I be in the hospital are very difficult to answer, but very understandable to ask. I'm guilty of some stupidity sometimes too, and I apologise if I upset anyone too much. Saturday the 30th of June 2012. Hands. My hands have done some pretty amazing things. They've held my newborn children, built furniture, cured diseases, and even saved a few lives. But no matter how much I want them to be, they are just not magical. I cannot use them directly to cure pain, a fact that many ER docs fail to grasp. I received a call from the ER earlier asking me to see a patient with abdominal pain. This is the most frequent call I get, so that didn't make it unusual. This could be appendicitis, gallstones, a bowel obstruction, pancreatitis, diverticulitis, or the dreaded other. The ER doc explained that this patient had been to the ER numerous times recently with the same vague generalised abdominal pain. Her blood work today was all completely normal. An ultrasound of the abdomen was normal, and a CT scan of the abdomen was also normal. So, what's the problem? I can't find anything wrong with her, but I'm just wondering if you can lay hands on her before I discharge her. Let me get this straight. You want me to confirm, with my bare hands, what the blood work, ultrasound, and CT scan have already shown you? That there is nothing wrong with her that a surgeon can fix? Yes. Am I supposed to have the power to touch the patient and magically make her pain disappear? Instead of yelling at the ER doc, which was my first inclination, I went to see the patient. I indeed touched her abdomen, and after talking with her for 2 minutes, I confirmed that she had eaten some bad sushi. I'm sorry, but not all of your pain is surgically correctable. There are some things I just can't fix. Like stupidity.